Hey guys, hope you're doing great today. It is April 24th. I'm Wendy Pope. This is Read Through the Word. You know, sometimes when we are going through, or at least from my experience, I guess I should speak from my own experience. When I'm going through some tough times, I'm really not looking for the opportunity to one day teach that, wow, this is a great experience, and this is what I learned about the Lord, and this is how the Lord delivered me, and this is how the Lord provided for me, and this is how the Lord was present with me. That's not what I'm looking for. I just will be honest with you. Most of the time when I'm in a trial, not as much now as I'm older in my faith, but definitely in recent times of trouble, I'm not sitting and looking for a way that I could be still and learn. I want to get out of this. And it's only really been in the last 3 to 5 years, I believe, in my faith journey that I will sit and say, all right, Lord, what are you wanting me to learn from this? But as Oswald Chambers asked, or maybe it was Tozer, posed the question, what do you want me to unlearn from this situation? What habit I think it's Oswald. What have I've gotten here, Lord, and how did I get here? And what am I doing in my life that keeps bringing me to this place? Show me what I need to unlearn. And I'm getting to that place in my faith journey, and I really wish I had reached this place earlier in my life, that I could sit with that and sit with Him and be patient and allow Holy Spirit to reveal these things to me. But I will say I'm getting there now, but my thought is not, this is a teaching moment. I can't wait to write this down and teach this to other people. Because most of the time I don't want to share my vulnerabilities and what's gone on in my life. I don't want that to be part of my story. I want to just sail through life, so to speak. But this psalm is one of 7, I believe, that are called Miktam's. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. And it's conflicting definitions of Miktam. One is to teach, and then one is an engraving for preservation or preservation. So in other words, whatever David is writing here in this and in 7 or 6 other Psalms, he wants it preserved. And most of the time you want something preserved so that it can be seen again and experienced again or used again. So just kind of an introduction. That's what this is called, as a miktam. And I thought it was interesting to study and to learn that, because our past experiences are useful for our teaching, but they are also useful and can be useful in the teaching of other people and to help other people through their journeys. You know, Scripture is very clear in the New Testament that we comfort those with the comfort that we've received. We share our burdens with one another. We're supposed to do life together. We have life groups. We're supposed to do things together and share in our faith journeys together to help one another through our circumstances of life. I felt, honestly, when I read Psalm 60, and as I read the lesson, the reading prior to that, I thought, they're coming off these great victories. David is at the height of his leadership. In fact, it says at the end of 2 Samuel 8:14, The Lord made David victorious wherever he went. So why would the timing of this psalm be placed here after victories? Victory after victory after victory. And I just felt like the Lord gave me this little image of someone that had been drowning and was finally coming up for air and was rescued. And God's people have had seasons of defeat and seasons of oppression. And this is speaking of, we don't know specifically what battle this was, but this was a defeat that he was speaking of. And I wonder if after all of these experiences of these victories, if it was like coming up out of the water and getting that first big breath, but then remembering where they came from and it making that presence and that experience of victory so much more sweeter, and to be so much more grateful for them. We need to live so close to God that we gasp for air like one drowning when we don't sense his nearness. That when we take that breath and we come up, we sense his nearness and we remember the farness that we had. That's not a word, but I just made that up. But the distance that we once had from him. So I just feel like that David at this point in Psalm 60 is remembering past defeat, but he's also requesting continued deliverance. He reminds God of his promise, and he recognizes God's hand of protection. And isn't that the way we should approach God? When we are coming up from air, we realize, oh, I have strayed, prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to wander, prone to leave the hand of God, says the old hymnist. And when we realize that, we take that breath of fresh air and we sit and we remember God's victory in our life. We also remember defeats we've had. But we can remind him of the times he delivered us. We can remind him of his promise to us. And just recognize his hand in our life. And share in a moment of gratitude and thankfulness. That's just kind of how I feel about this moment. David and Israel come up from air. They experience the powerful hand of God. And then the king inscribed on paper something that he wanted preserved for all generations to know of the importance of obeying God, relying on God, trusting in his perfect plan, even when that plan includes defeat or there's discipline involved. Everything that happens in our life is useful for teaching us and possibly us teaching someone else as we've been humbled, teaching someone else, and hopefully ease their burden along the way. Take care. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.